Chicken Saga Part 2. This time we are going to discuss the neighbor, his roommate, and animal control. When it came to Sally, LaWanda, Bernice, and Jennifer, I didn't say anything to animal control at all because me and the neighbor, we had a discussion, not a very pleasant discussion, but we had one at the very least. So I went out there and I bought 16 chickens from Tractor Supply, and I said I only want the pullets, which was hens, but for some reason or somehow Robert and Richard got into the box, and when they grew up to be about 6 months old, that's when I found out, oh, I got 2 roosters of all this mess. The first pit bull attack, I called animal control. They put the dog back in the fence. Second pit bull attack, and it was them taking down probably about 1 or 2 at a time. I had this big cage out at the front, and when I say cage, I mean fence. And they have plenty of room. I would let them out. They were free range. They would do all of that stuff. And then at night, they would go into the dog pen that I built. And they would roost for the night and had no problems until the pit bull kept on coming back. Boom, boom, boom against the cage. And pretty much wiped them all out except for Robert, Richard, Rebecca, and Sylvia. And every time I would call animal control, tell animal control about what's going on, they would say, oh, well, we'll just put the dog back in the fence. Do you know who it belongs to? And I was like, yes, I do know who it belongs to, and you need to do something about this pit bull. Well, after quite a few attacks, naturally you would get irritated with the whole entire situation, that this guy got to keep his pit bull the whole entire time, and animal control kept on saying, oh, that is not a vicious dog. It's not a vicious dog. Oh, it's such a sweet dog. It's not vicious towards me. You must be doing something to it, David. And it was running around with a chicken in its mouth. And I was like, so you saying that the pit bull has more rights than what mine does, what my animals have? Well, yours is considered foul, and this is a domestic animal, and we are just not going to put it down without a judge's order. Well, go get it. Go get the judge's order, because it was, at that point, 6 different attacks, and it got out, tried to attack a little girl down the street, kept on going to the Tyson plant, running around there, and animal control, it was getting pretty rampant at that particular point. If it wasn't coming over to my yard, and animal control kept on just turning a blind eye to it, and allowing this dog to come over and just attack all of my animals. And 2 of the cats ended up being missing. I don't know if the pit bull did something to the cats, or they just happened to say, I'm sick of this shit myself too. We're gone. We're out of here. I don't blame them. So it always ended up, me and animal control and the neighbor, they did put out a destruction of property and on the guy, and eventually he had to pay me money for the chickens. And what boiled down to it is the pit bull finally attacked me, and animal control was still going to save the dog because it was somebody else's property. And I said, but it bit me. Does it matter if it bit you? It's somebody else's property. Well, the cop showed up, and the cop was gonna try to tame the dog down and take the dog back over. Well, the dog ended up lunging at the cop, and the cop took it down. Unfortunately, I did not like that outcome, but that's what ended up happening. And I thought it was a shame that they would never take the pit bull and put it into somebody else's care that had time for it, or would let it stay in a fence or be at a home that would actually love on it and stuff like that. So, unfortunately, the pit bull finally passed away. But it was after 8 different times, 8 different attacks, 8 different situations where they would always continually say that my chickens had no rights on my property and that I needed to file the lawsuit, won the lawsuit after, my gosh, that judge was vicious as well. Because, obviously fowl, like, chickens are not considered important, like not pets. They are considered, various different things. And I was like, I would never eat my chickens. I would never do that. So they are eventually pets at the end of the day. And they are very important to the homestead because I do use their chicken mess for fertilizer, depend on them to scratch the yard and add nutrition to the yard, which they did very good jobs of that. But unfortunately, my first 16 chickens had no rights to be alive, and that's what they said. They had no rights. The pit bull was considered property, and they can only send property back. Most judges in this area do not consider pit bulls dangerous until they actually bite somebody, and when it became to bite somebody, which was me, still did not have any rights. Once the pit bull was put down back in February or March, I thought that this whole entire thing was just going to be squashed, be able to have my chickens, live freely, and move on with my life. And now here we are in November with somebody complaining within the city that, and when I say city, I mean we are a very small town. I don't know how many people or anything to the sorts like that, but I do live in a pretty residential, everybody are homesteaders, and they grow their gardens, they grow their vegetables, they have sheep, they have cows, they have all of this stuff. And then I'm going to upload this video, and I'm going to tell you what happened in the third part of animal control showing up to my house to discuss this whole entire thing.